You're listening to the Startup Soirée podcast, episode number 8. Make Tribe. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Startup Soirée podcast. This is your host, Patrick Reif. Today's guest is Jessica Dargenio Waller from Make Tribe. Make Tribe is this, kind of incredible, kind of unique happening that has sprung up around the Baltimore metro area that is kind of like a community building experiment through the most fun food and drink and craft creating, art honing perspective. So I'm butchering it, but Jessica is going to do a much better job of telling us about Make Tribe and her goals and ambitions for it and how it came to be. So Jessica, welcome to the Startup Soirée podcast. Thank you for being a guest.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here.
So if you don't mind, why don't you just start off with a little bit of background about yourself and Make Tribe and how it all came to be?
Sure, yeah. I'm a Baltimore native. I grew up just outside the city and have been here around 2 years or so doing Make Tribe, which has been a really great ride so far. But yeah, we build them as craft workshops and skills suppers where we have Skillshare demonstrations followed by a 3-course seated supper, which has been really lovely. I am excited to work with a ton of different partners in the Baltimore and DC area, and I'm always looking for new opportunities, new spaces, and new things to make. So it's been a wild ride so far. I have a background in publishing and also arts nonprofits, so it sort of combines the best of both worlds. I get to produce beautiful events and also meet new people in the city, which is really lovely.
So where did the inspiration for Make Tribe come from? I mean, I'm sure that you've had different varying interests as you've grown and kind of gotten these experiences, and clearly with the taste and style that's involved, those are all things that I would guess that you really love to do yourself, and it was just kind of convenient to throw an opportunity to do it and offer it out to others. So would you mind just telling us a little bit about how it came to be?
Yeah, definitely. I sort of label myself as a serial hobbyist. I like to dabble in all different kinds of crafts and skills. So selfishly, I was just trying to learn more things about, calligraphy. It started with in terrariums, and I partnered up with some friends, and we threw a workshop, and it went really well. So we just sort of took it from there. But it also spurred from the fact that a lot of my friends in the city were actually moving away from Baltimore, and I was having a hard time meeting new people and connecting in a real way. So I think Make Tribe fills that void, at least for me, to connect with other adults outside of the traditional bar or work environments where you normally meet new friends. It's very much a way for the community to come together, get their hands dirty, have some cocktails, and talk to people.
That may be one of the most amazing answers that I think I've gotten on this show yet.
Thanks.
It just speaks so personally to me because I am the type of person who really appreciates community, particularly kind of small community. I've always been kind of the type of person that puts a lot more value on having a one-on-one conversation than kind of hanging out in a big group of people.
Yeah.
One, because I don't really like competing vocally, and two, I just think that it's a lot more qualitative experience. I don't know. I guess I'm maybe just like that kind of soul a little bit. But
that too, for sure.
You definitely. You can, it's a struggle to find friends, to find people that you land with as an adult. And that's why, and it's tough to find a partner. And that becomes more difficult the older we get because we become more clear about the things that we do and don't like. And even the best of us try and throw that on the rocks and be impulsive and go after things that are non-traditional or things we wouldn't like, but it's, saying and doing are two different things. And I always think like, man, I just wish that I had a regular habit of Sunday brunch at my home and that everyone that I knew about it, and that it would just be like this revolving door of people coming in and out to kind of be in each other's company and kind of appreciate that. So to hear you kind of put the primary onus on wanting to create opportunities to find new people to connect with, I just think is just a beautiful way for this whole project to have begun.
Thank you. Yeah, it's worked out really well so far, especially because the people who come to the events are always, centering around a specific skill or a craft. So it attracts like minds. And everyone, the most favorite part of my events, I think, are that everyone becomes a beginner at something again. We're all on the same level. We're all here to learn, and we're all trying to do something new. So it's a really lovely icebreaker, just being a newbie again, which is kind of fun.
There's something really gratifying in being, what's the word that I'm looking for? In kind of like being a little bit prone, can be a really great thing if you're the type of person that can wrap your mind around it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we had Lee on the podcast, and he said one of the things that he looked for in people and in subjects was vulnerability, and that really inspired him when people were willing to show vulnerability. And I think that's kind of one of the kind of great side tenets of something like what you're doing, when everyone is coming to the table, and during the day they all have professional degrees that are exceptional, or or they're exceptional parents, or whatever it may be. But when they come to one of your workshops, they have a common interest to be there, but there's no hierarchy.
Exactly.
There's no hierarchy. That's really cool. So why don't you talk a little bit about your more recent background? You have a pretty rich story to tell that you've just kind of closed the book on, and I feel like so much of it probably has a little bit to do with influencing Make Tribe and a little bit to do with influencing your next steps. So would you talk a little about Girls Life?
Yeah, definitely. I was the fashion editor and operations manager at Girls Life magazine for almost 5 years, and I just recently left that position in December to pursue a graduate degree in integrative nutrition and herbal medicine. But yeah, my tenure at Girls Life really influenced what I do now. I did a lot of photo shoot production, styling, and general day-to-day administration as well. So it really gave me a glance into both the creative aspects of running a business and the more daily grind stuff. And I'm really lucky to count my former boss as a mentor today. She's been outstanding. And yeah, I just loved the chance to be creative and logical every day at that job. So that has really informed me in terms of how I'm running Make Tribe these days as well.
So, well, first off, where are you pursuing your integrative nutrition and herbal medicine degree?
Yeah, it's at the Maryland University of Integrative Health, which is in Laurel.
Awesome. And how long is that program?
It's about 2.5 years because I'm doing an herbal concentration in addition to the Masters of Science in Integrative Health and Nutrition.
So would you say that is there a third interest that kind of has informed this next step for you, or is there a link between either Make Tribe or Girls Life, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Girls Life is very teen-centric and female-centric, and women's health is a really big passion of mine. I hope to practice as a perinatal and postnatal nutritionist once I complete my credentials. And wellness is a really central passion as well. I'd love to offer herbal pharmacy classes and cooking classes and seasonal health. And I'd really love to write a cookbook one day.
Do you by any chance know Olivia Fite?
I have heard of her, and I've heard great things, and I keep meaning to reach out to her. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna write a note to introduce the two of you, because I know Olivia from, I guess, a little bit more of a distant past, and then more recently we actually worked together for a bit, and she is a Thai Sophia kind of herbalist. I'm going to refrain from going through the titles because I'm sure that I will butcher it or misunderstand like a specific study or strain, and I don't want to risk that. But at any rate, I will introduce the two of you. So in terms of Make Tribe and kind of where the stars cross with that and your new studies, where do you see it going?
I'm still sort of figuring that out. I think because Make Tribe is such a amalgamation of everything I love right now, I think it's really easy to evolve it, which I'm really fortunate to be able to say and do. But yeah, down the road, I'd love to offer more wellness-based events and classes, and hopefully some longer retreats. I'd like to take people out into the country and into nature. I just learned about this amazing thing called forest bathing, which is a Japanese concept where you basically just go out into the forest and sort of shower yourself with the scents and sights and sounds. And it's incredibly rejuvenating and can, reduce blood pressure. And I'm getting a little bit hippy dippy here, but I just think going out into nature and reconnecting and removing ourselves from, everyday technologies would be really rejuvenating. And I'd love to be able to offer that as part of my ongoing programming.
There's something undeniable about getting back to that most kind of elemental of place, whether it's without technology or it's just your skin. Not to get into you can go down the hippie route and I will go down the slightly provocative route, but there's really something to that, to think about how you take moments out and you refuse kind of the machinations of society for a moment, just to kind of recenter yourself. As I get older, I feel like that's becoming more and more critical, and I think some people find that in forest baths, and other people find that in mindfulness or yoga, or just kind of taking that space out for their own thing. I myself am in a lot of ways a very kind of solitude-driven person. Like I need that, and it's something far greater than just wanting to be alone. It's definitely a need to be alone. If only for the sake of, we'll call it psychological sorbet. That's my hashtag for the week. I'll have to start working that in. Well, Jess, I have some kind of like personal hustle questions that I'd really love to ask you. That just kind of come into your day to day. So, right off the jump, is there anything that you do that you consider to be ritualistic or very important to your day to day success?
Yeah, I definitely try to take some time for mindfulness and meditation every day, and start the day with a really healthy meal that I prepare myself. It's been really important to me to take time out from the computer and from social media to sit and enjoy my food as I study to become a nutritionist. So that's a really important ritual for me. And then also, having a creative outlet, whether that's knitting, or writing or anything like that, is really imperative as I learn about new skills and new concepts, and I want to try my hand at all of those. So those are two big things for me. And then I also try to move at least some part of my day. So I do yoga and I run, walk, and some days it might be just running up and down the stairs in my apartment or dancing around to a song. But I think it's a really imperative thing to do.
Awesome. Good answers. I'm going to pull them apart. So in terms of your mindfulness practice, what is that like? When does it happen? Is it strictly regimented for you? For how long? Give me a little bit of the gnarly details.
So I started with an app. I'm going to forget the name of it, but it's Open Minds maybe, and that really helped me get into a cycle. But I try to sit for anywhere between 5 to 15 minutes in the mornings, and if I don't have time, then I try to carve out some minutes in the afternoon or even before bed. I can usually tell when my mind is racing and I need some of that mindfulness medicine. So I just try to sit quietly, and I'm really just a beginner, so I'm just watching my thoughts right now. And sometimes if I'm really distracted, I'll put on a guided meditation. Have a couple apps that I really love that I can share with you.
That would be great, because we can definitely, please do, so that we can put them in the show notes and everyone listening can go get those wicked good recommendations from you. How about, so are you sitting with your back against something? Are you sitting on the floor? Are you sitting just straight up, legs crossed?
Yeah, straight up on the floor. I do a lot of yoga, so sometimes I do some sun salutations before, just to get some of that energy out of my body. But yeah, I have a really zen-like bedroom, so I usually go in there and lock my cats out so they don't come up. Um,
So what about in terms of your yoga practice? Is that a practice that is a personal self-led practice, or is that something where you're going to a studio, a little mix of both?
it's a mix of both. I have been going to Charm City Yoga for, I don't know, 5+ years now, and that's a very important part of my life. I love their hot yoga offerings. It's like the only thing that warms my bones, especially on days like today. So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, I have some videos that I do at home, and then sometimes I just it's a self-led thing. But I'm not so good at that. It's hard to get out there.
Yeah, that's the place that I struggle with, and I have two young children. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I just can't get to yoga studios with any kind of regularity to make it a part of my life, because a 90-minute class with commuting to and from is 2.5 hours, and that's a long time to ask your partner to deal with both of the kids just so you can go do yoga. So
It's a luxury.
I've been really working on rearranging my mind to think to start thinking about what I'm doing more and wanting to be more present in creating a home. Like I just need to stop thinking about it in terms of a public practice and start thinking about it as a personal practice, because it's something that I really like to incorporate into my life for the long term. And I think the only way I'm going to do that is if I can develop it myself. So that's why I'm very interested. Was that something that has taken you a long time to commit to to making a part of your life, not doing it in a studio and just kind of following along?
Yeah, I took some Vipassana sessions last year, but had trouble really committing to it as a regular thing. And it was actually my New Year's resolution this year to be more mindful and to work into a daily practice. So it's still a struggle. I mean, making time for that is hard, but I find that the benefits are really worth the costs. So it's been great.
So how about your breakfast? You said you eat, that it's very important. Is it the same thing every day? Is it kind of routine in that regard, or is it vary?
I change it up. I don't like to eat the same thing too often. I get tired. But yeah, I usually start with hot water and lemon, and I do some turmeric and ginger tinctures and cayenne pepper in there, especially when it's cold out. They're really good for anti-inflammatory and kicking anything that's lingering in the back of your throat. And then I usually have oatmeal that sometimes I make savory with walnuts and basil and Parmesan cheese if I'm looking for something a little bit saltier. And then I'll also do oatmeal with fresh fruit and nuts and seeds. And I make my own granola a lot, so that's always a constant. And then sometimes I'll just do, egg and avocado on toast or whatever.
That all sounds great. I'm totally into it. I have I really like to get exploratory, and I've been kind of playing a little bit with high protein diets here and again. And one of the things that I really love is that I've got these two little boys who seem to have very divergent tastes. So one will the youngest, the baby, will eat all the meat that you give him and chocolate and just kind of devour it. And then my older son, Emmett, does not like any chocolate under any circumstances or meat. He's just kind of like totally weirded out. But when Daddy makes breakfast, which is usually kind of based around eggs and vegetables and wilted greens and sriracha and beans and that kind of stuff, and then I'll like just kind of throw in anything that's around, whether there's chicken or there's something else. I'll just kind of like dump it in, and it doesn't matter what it is, as long as like it's in that bowl and it's my breakfast. They'll both sit in my lap and just annihilate it. So it's so cute, because under any other, it's just like the power of mesmerizing them with it, that they're just like, oh yes, I gotta have this, and they get so insistent, they get really frustrated. It's very, very cool. So in that regard, on that day, I can introduce anything that I want.
I love that.
And they'll go for it. Okay, so we are running long because it is crazy easy to run my mouth with you. How important is dancing to you? You said something about dancing around your apartment, even if need be, like to get a little bit. I feel like that's just such a rich question to ask that I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, I have a long history of ballet. I did ballet up through college, and I miss it. So for an assignment for school, actually, we're studying health inputs, and movement was one of them. And we have to do these daily logs. And one of the assignments was to dance, which I was, a little bit like, okay, come on, this is cheesy. But once I did it, it was incredible. And it just literally shakes the stress right out of your body. So now I'm trying to do it more often. And I'm even leaving the blinds open. I'm getting a little bit more bold. So it's been really great. I highly suggest it.
Good for you. It's a revelatory experience to really give in. I came from a background. I was totally a teenage indie rocker. I was a teenage indie rocker. And
Confession.
definitely, came up in the 90s, and I had a lot of confusion about selling out and not selling out, and there was all this kind of stuff that got loaded on that by the time I got to my mid 20s, the experience I was having was very predicated on my read and my concept of kind of what all that stuff was, and it wasn't really like the truth for what it was about. And it's really great to be where I am now because I've come through the other side of it, and I have this totally new and electrified relationship with kind of music, and still wanting to get back to creating things that are unique and that are interesting and that push boundaries, but really knowing that I want to create music for the greatest number of people to be able to appreciate, because music is one of the greatest unifiers that's there, and to be able to make something that is appealing in multiple ways to multiple different people, and to give them something to meet each other over, I think is probably one of the greatest compliments that you could ever get. So that's why I wanted to pull that out. I have a question for you. I was wondering if you would consider maybe creating, since you're such a creative person, maybe creating like a little healthy breakfast card or something that we could share with the Startup Soirée community. Maybe just like this is what I love on Tuesdays when it's rainy or something. And when this podcast comes out, we could also put it in the blog, and the Startup Soirée community could check it out.
I love that idea. I'd be happy to. Awesome.
Well, Jessica, I could absolutely talk to you for hours longer. I've been a big fan of what you do with Make Tribe for a long time. I think I've let you know that I love the common kind of potential that sits between Pixelated and Make Tribe. I think that our experiences are very much for a similar person, and I think that's really neat. So I look forward to working with you in the future. Before we go, let everyone know the best place to reach you and follow along with Make Tribe.
Sure. Yeah, we are at maketribe.com, and also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Make Tribe. My email is hello@maketribe.com too. So if you have any ideas for future events or partners or spaces to host, I'd love to hear from you.
All right. That sounds great. So you heard it here, people. Another episode of the Startup Soirée podcast is on the books. Please do head over to the website, which is www.startup-soiree.com, and check out the show notes for this episode. There's going to be a ton of good stuff. Jessica is going to give us links to apps for mindfulness, and maybe a cool little recipe for a snack, and then all of this other great stuff that we've talked about as well. So please check that out. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button in the iTunes store, and if you don't mind, leave us a few quick words and review. Your reviews definitely help us get found by other people, and that is the goal. Okay, guys. Patrick Reif here, signing off. See you next week. Jess, thanks again. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Same to you.
All right, take care.
You too.